This is episode 2 of our buggy build series. This is the episode where we take a 7.5 horsepower 150cc and we pump that sucker up to around 13 horsepower. In episode 1, we did a complete big bore kit. Cam, head, cylinder. I showed you how to do that step by step. If you didn't watch that, make sure you go back so you know what's going on. But in episode 2, we're installing high torque starter, high volume oil pump. Let's get going on it. Okay, top end is done. Now we just we need to install a high torque starter to crank over that high compression 172cc big bore kit. We're going to install a performance starter clutch to handle the starter and the high compression of the motor. While we're in there, we're going to do a high volume oil pump. Normally I would not do this on a 172cc kit, but because this is in a buggy, there's a lot of weight and they're really heavy. We want as much oil as possible to cool it down. This one's actually going to get an oil cooler as well, but even if it didn't get an oil cooler, I would install this if you're running this kit on a buggy. So, high torque starter clutch, we've got our castle nut tool, gasket, and then our tool to remove the magneto. So we're going to do all this stuff first and then we'll come in and install the starter. Alright, first step, 8mm, remove the fan bolt. Super easy. And we got a 17mm right here. Loosen that sucker. Okay. There's also a washer back in there. We'll get off in just a second. Then we got our puller tool. This is reverse thread, so I'm loosening it to tighten it basically. And then you're going to take your 17mm again, just hit it once. Very easy. It's magnetic, so it kind of sticks. You won't need this anymore. Take this guy off. Remember, we're doing a fuel injection kit, so we're not going to need this magneto, so we're going to pull that washer out. This magneto is being removed. Okay, now you've got to start removing the old stator. This is an 8-pole stator. We're going to be installing an 11-pole stator in this kit. But regardless if we were installing that, if you were doing a carbureted version, this stator needs to come out. So set these aside. As I go, I'll explain the stuff. So this is a pickup coil. Every time the engine turns over, this little, they call this a reluctor, goes past the pickup coil. That's what tells the engine when to spark. It sends a signal up to this blue wire. It's completely separate than the stator. Even though it always comes with the stator, it's not part of the stator. Okay, and then back here we got this little clamp that holds these down. Holds that the wire down back there. I'm just going to leave that like that. Pull this out of here. This thing's all wrapped up in this. Okay, now we're good there. Let me clean this area up just a little bit. So when we install this back, we can install the parts that we already did if we had the carbureted version, but when we install it back, we're doing the 11-pole stator upgrade kit with a different magneto. So take note of that. So, but that doesn't change our disassembly. The reason I have this tray is because when I open this up, oil may go down here even though I sucked the oil out of this. Okay, we've already removed those 2 screws that are holding it on. We're going to remove these guys. I like to go in a cross pattern. One here, one there. One there, one right up here, one right here, one right here. This is going to remove this whole cover. So these are all different sizes, so if you want, you can use your little gasket to kind of like tell you where things go. It's kind of a, it's not the best way to do it, but it helps. See how I'm doing that? And then these 2 right here were these guys. Okay? I'm going to push this forward a little bit so that I don't tamper with the gasket stuff. Okay, so this should just come off real easy. If it doesn't, do the old mallet trick. Just slightly hit it. Just like that. Yep, I got oil spilling out right there. I didn't drain it all the way, so pulling that off. That's what it looks like. Okay, 2 dowel pins, one there, one there. We're going to replace the gasket, of course. Okay, now we've got to get this nut off, and this is also reverse thread. So we're going to tighten to loosen, loosen to tighten, and we're using our castle nut tool that comes with the starter clutch. So if you notice, it just kind of goes in there. So I'm just going to, and I definitely like to do this with everything put together, the top end installed, all of that. Otherwise, this things go flying, and you got to somehow stop this from moving. So let me tighten it down to loosen it. There we go. Yeah, we probably should replace that. This beat it up pretty bad, so I'll replace the nut. But if you notice, there's red Loctite over everything. So I'll get a new starter clutch nut. But here is the washer, and then this starter clutch slides off. Pay attention to how that goes, because this clutch, starter clutch, is a lot different than this one. So if you notice, the gear on the outside is looking like this, because you can install it backwards. That's why I'm mentioning this. You can put this on like that and it'll be wrong, but this is what I want to show you. This is a 2-piece clutch. See that? And then there's this extra bearing. It can get confusing, but what I'm doing is, see that little notch there where the Woodruff key lines up? I'm going to just line that up. It's a little wiggle. There it goes, just like that. We'll put our washer on there, and then I'm going to get a new nut, but we'll put the nut on there, and then you loosen it to tighten it. But I'll put more red Loctite on there. That's the starter clutch. But I'm not going to do that yet, because we're going to do a oil pump right here. So while we're in here, this is our high volume oil pump that we'll be installing right here. 20% more oil than the stock oil pump. This little device here is just a guard, and it's so if the nut comes loose, let me show you. Loosen that. Loosen that. Take this little thing off. If that nut came loose, this holds it from that not coming off. So it's kind of like a double proof, so you don't have a big giant freaking problem and your oil pump stops pumping. So this is a 10 millimeter to get that off of there. So I'm just going to loosen it just normal. This thing might turn a little bit. Nope, it didn't. Okay. There's the 10 millimeter nut. This little gear comes off. Little wiggle. There we go, just like that. Pull the gear off. You notice that there's a little shape to it. Remember that, because that's the way it's going to go back on to the shape on the shaft there. You can take this oil pump chain off, but you don't have to. It's the second set of sprockets on the crank. Number 3 screw right there. Number 3 because it's a lot bigger than a number 2 Phillips head. Sucker's tight. Sometimes when they're tight like that, like I can't loosen it, well, you can use an impact screwdriver, which I might end up using if this doesn't work, but here's a little trick. You can just go, while you're turning, nope, it will not loosen, so we're going to take it one step further. So if your number 3 screwdriver has a little 10 millimeter nut on the end, you can slide this on here like this, and now you've got a, so I'm going to go in there, see if it'll loosen, which did. Nice. If that doesn't work, they do have impact screwdrivers, so when you hit the back of the screwdriver, it pushes and turns at the same time. Luckily, I didn't have to do that. That came out real easy. There's our old oil pump. We don't need the screws, the old screws. We don't need the old oil pump. So here's our high volume oil pump. It's 20% larger than the stock oil pump. Let me show you. Check that out. Or I'll put it flat, be easier to see. See how much taller that is? Just got more volume. You can pump more volume out there. All right, set that aside. I'm going to put a little red Loctite on these screws. Looks like that's a 4mm. The way that this goes in is kind of like upside down. It's not a symmetrical fit. So it goes in just like that, and then we'll take our little 4mm. Oh, let's get it hand started. If you have it upside down, this screw won't go in. Let's see if I have it upside down. Yep, I have it upside down. Spin it around like that. Get one started. And then, if it's correct, this will get started, which it did, nice and easy. And then we're just going to crank those down. Those are 9 foot-pounds. Okay, get these nice and snug. Torque setting is 9 foot-pounds. Right here, very important. Do you see the little angle, the way that it's shaped, and the little D shape on this sprocket? D shape right there. See how that goes on there? Just like this. It won't become flush if you have it wrong. So just do like that, but then I got to put the chain on. So let me get this back off here. Just wanted to show you that quick. All right, now the chain, there's no type of timing or anything on this. You just install this sprocket however the teeth go. The only thing that you need to note is that needs to be lined up, which it's not. So I'm going to grab the little threads, give it a little twist. There it goes. It's lined up. You put a little red Loctite on the threads right there. That's a 10mm. Oh, it's a 10mm nut. That one's also 9 foot-pounds. Now we're going to install this guy. I was messing with it, going like this, trying to put it on this way. Yeah, you got to be smarter than the little cover. So just like that. Okay, they line up. Put a little red Loctite on there. This thing, it serves a major purpose. I've taken apart motors before where that nut came loose, and it's a good thing that that thing was on there. Otherwise, their oil pump would have never worked and blown that sucker up. So. All right, now we can put our starter clutch on. So there's a wrong way of putting it on. If you put it on that way, it's going to be wrong. This is the way you need to put it on. Line the little woodruff key up. You have to give it a little swivel. You'll know when it's right. It'll slide right back on. Right now, it's not. Where's our woodruff key? There it is. Just like that, and put our washer over the top. Actually, before I do that, I want to get a good go at putting a red Loctite on the threads here. You don't want this to fall off. Oh, my hands are greasy. Okay. All right, washer. Clean this off a little bit. And remember our old one? Well, we got a new one, so it's reverse thread, so loosen to tighten. You got to get this going by hand. Actually, you notice how I don't have it all the way in right here? I need to turn this just a little bit. See how that's down like that? That's important. Otherwise, you're going to crank the teeth down and mess it up. So that I got it down by hand there. Now I'm going to loosen it to tighten it with my castle nut tool. There we go. Sucker's on there. It's got red Loctite. Okay, now we're going to start putting this back together. We need our little dowel pins. One goes there. The other one down here, like that. We need to put our new gasket on. Just kind of match it up, how it goes. I don't normally use sealant on these. I do on the cases, but not on this. But you can put sealant on both sides. So there's that. And then we have the cover. So you want to make sure everything's all good to go. It's tight. Everything's good. Just double check that. And then you got to watch your crank seal right here. Make sure you're not going to run right into it and mess it up. So just go real easy right there. Give a little wiggle like this until you can get this lined up. There we go. Now we can put our bolts in. Now remember what I did before. Remember how I kind of laid these out so we knew where they went? So you can just kind of copy that. Take this guy, put it right there. Take this guy, put it right there. Because they're all different sizes. So just keep doing that. You get the gist. I'm going to do all of them except for these that go right here because the stator wires go underneath that. So I'm just going to kind of get those going. I'll tighten these up off cam. They're 9 foot-pounds. Remember how we had our 8-pole stator? That's fine if you have a carburetor. This is getting fuel injection. So we're doing the 11-pole stator. It's the same exact stator setup but with 11 poles, which allows it to charge better. And remember we had the magneto. The carburetor version has one reluctor. We're doing EFI. It has 26 reluctors. We need that for EFI. And we need the extra charging system. Stator goes on the same way as the other one. Let's line it up. Put a little red Loctite on the screws. You can do blue too. I like to use red. Those are 8 foot-pounds or 9 foot-pounds on the 8 millimeters. Crank it down, 9 foot-pounds, or snug it up. And then remember we have our little brace right here. Normally you have to do one in like that. One screw in, and then once it's in, you can kind of move it out. But the point of that is to hold the wire in so it doesn't, the magneto doesn't run it over. The only thing left is the reluctor. Put a little Loctite on there. Always start this by hand. These threads are fragile. Make sure that this little guy is just like that. You can pull the wires down so everything is nice and snug. So you want to make sure you don't pinch any of the wires when you crank down the reluctor. Now the EFI magneto, just match up the cotter key or the Woodruff key. It's on the crank with that. Let me show you kind of what I mean. See, if I'm turning it, doesn't feel like it's going on right. If I turn it and get it lined up, see how it falls into place like that? Put a little red Loctite on there. Washer, nut, and this I use an impact on. Hit it to 17 foot, or hit it with a 17 millimeter. Just kind of get it snug. And then we got our fan. Put a little Loctite on the screws. Start these by hand, of course. Let's get them lined up. One lined up. You're good. I use an impact gun on these. You just got to get them snug, and it's kind of hard to do with the motor moving around. So I just kind of hit it. Go across pattern. Now we just need a cooling trabs on, and our top end portion is done, and our starter clutch and our high volume oil pump. The only thing left to do now is the transmission kit and install this starter. You got a screw right here, but you've got this little bracket. We've got our little plastic screws again right here. Barely. You don't crank those down; they strip easily. So just barely. Okay. Then there's one down at the bottom. Okay. Done. Now we just have to do the high torque starter. Very, very easy. See these bolts right here? There's two 8mm bolts. Just like that. This guy, just give it a little wiggle. Starter, with the wire out. And we got the new one, our 4-brush starter. Unlike the 2-brush starter we had before, you're going to get a lot more cold cranking amps, a lot more power out of it. And these are 9 foot-pounds. Just kind of get them started. Okay. And then just crank them down. 9 foot-pounds or nice and snug. Okay, now all we have left is our Zen Performance CVT transmission kit. Got to pull this sucker apart. Everything else is done. Went very smooth. Episode 2 has come to an end, but in episode 3, we're going to install that CVT transmission kit. That's our Zen CVT transmission kit, which is a forged CVT. Really, really great for buggies. That's going to keep us in the sweet spot, so we're keeping that engine RPM right at peak power the entire time. If you're learning something, hit the little subscribe button and hit the little blue bell right on the side so you can be notified when episode 3 comes out. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.